So you've had your camera a little while and you thought you'd always wanted to do some portrait photography but didn't know where to start. Or maybe you've got a new camera and wanted to start something new. So in this video, I'm going to show you some basic camera settings and functions to get started with doing portraits indoors. People close to the camera don't look good, which is why we don't use wide-angle lenses when we're taking portraits. We use as long a lens as possible because long lenses flatten features and are more flattering. So if you've got a kit lens, it's an 18-55, that's a common lens that comes with a camera, zoom it to the 55 end. If you've got a 50mm lens, that's a good portrait lens, but really for portraits, the longer the better. Indoors, then a 50mm and 85 is perfect. Anything that gets too long, you're going to run out of space. Aperture. When indoors, you're going to be suffering from slightly limited light. So you want to put your camera into aperture priority or aperture control so that you are taking control of the aperture, the size of the hole in the lens, and you want to make that f-stop, that number, as small as possible. Why? Because this makes the hole in your lens as big as possible and lets the most amount of light through. Also, the bigger aperture means you are isolating your subject, your portrait, your person from the background as much as possible. A bigger aperture, smaller f number, means that you're isolating them, which is what we want for portraiture. Next, ISO, film speed, and shutter speed. For your ISO, depending on whether it's a bright day or it's later in the evening like it is now, when I'm shooting this, you want your ISO up fairly high because, like with aperture, you're not going to be working with a lot of light unless there's direct sunlight coming in. So your starting point for your ISO is going to be around about 800, maybe even 1600 ISO. For your shutter speed, you don't want any movement. That's when you get camera blur because the shutter speed is too low. So you want your shutter speed around about 125th of a second, no less than that, or you might introduce camera shake. So just keep an eye on that when you've got your camera in aperture priority. Keep an eye on what your shutter speed says. You don't want it to go below about 125th of a second. Next, focus. Find out how to change the focus points in your camera. It could be a 2-button operation or it could be a single one. On this camera here, I simply do it by moving the dial. And when I look through the viewfinder, I can see the red square move around the viewfinder. I want that red square to be over my subject's eye so that the eye is in focus when I take the picture, because the eye is the most important part. People are up and down, so turn your camera into portrait mode. It's a simple thing and it's a rule. Rules can be broken, but this is a good starting point. This is the last and most important part of your camera setting, and it's the photographer setting. When you're taking a portrait of someone, be respectful of them, but also, most importantly, take time. Don't rush them, don't be rushed. Take time to talk to them, put them at ease, and you'll get a much better portrait by spending 20 minutes talking to someone, taking their portrait, and 5 minutes taking their picture than the other way around. So in this video, you've learned the basic camera settings for getting started with portrait photography. The lens, the aperture, the shutter speed, ISO, and how to relate to your subject. If you enjoyed this video, then please click subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Okay, and if you think someone would benefit from sharing it, then please send it to them. If you've got any questions, then please leave it in the comments down below. And if there's anything else you'd like me to cover in my videos, then please get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.